I'm Gabriella Anderson, 28 years old. I started my tech company in a tiny dorm room, despite everyone urging me to be realistic. Today, at my graduation, with my family in the audience, my father sent a text that shattered my heart. But what followed changed everything. For years of sleepless nights, rejection, and sacrifice built up to this moment when my phone buzzed twice in minutes. The first message broke me. The second made history. If you're reading this, comment below with where you're from. Like and subscribe to follow my journey of turning rejection into the ultimate success story. Growing up as the only daughter with two older brothers in the Anderson family, I was always overlooked. My father, Harold Anderson, built his construction supply company from nothing in the 1980s. He was a self-made man, proud of his business smarts and old-school values. In our home, tradition was clear, business was for men, and women played supporting roles. From my earliest memories, I watched my father mentor my brothers, James and Thomas, to take over Anderson Building Supply. He'd take them to the office on weekends, teaching them about inventory, profits, and leadership. At 8, I asked to join them. My father chuckled, patted my head, and said, "This is boring stuff, princess. Why not help your mom with dinner?" My mother, Elizabeth, was the ideal corporate wife. She hosted flawless business dinners, kept our home spotless, and never challenged my father publicly. Privately, she'd whisper encouragement to me, but always added, "Don't let your father hear." I know she loved me. But she'd accepted her role and expected me to do the same. Even without support, I excelled in math and computer science early on. In 3rd grade, I won the state math competition, beating kids 2 grades older. My father came to the ceremony but called my knack for numbers cute. When my teacher called home to suggest advanced classes in mentoring, my father thanked her politely and ignored it. By high school, I taught myself coding through online tutorials. I built a scheduling app that my school used for extracurricular activities. The local paper wrote a small story about it. My father read it and said, "Computers are a phase. Real business is face-to-face." My brothers got cars for their 16th birthdays. I got a practical laptop for schoolwork. He didn't know I'd use that laptop to start Secure Connect, my company focused on encrypted communication software for businesses. When college applications came, I secretly applied to MIT with help from my guidance counselor, who saw what my parents couldn't. When my MIT acceptance arrived, my mother was thrilled but nervous about my father's reaction. At dinner, I shared the news. "What do you do at MIT?" he scoffed. "Waste 4 years when you could get real experience? Tech's all smoke and mirrors. Look at all these failing businesses." "It's the top engineering school in the country," I said softly. "Engineering's not for girls, Gabriella. You'll struggle, get discouraged, and drop out." "Then what?" "I won't drop out," I vowed. After weeks of arguments, my father agreed to pay for my first year at MIT, but with rules: keep a 4.0 GPA, work part-time for my expenses, and call weekly with updates. "1 year," he said. "Then we'll see if this is a waste of my money." The night before I left for Cambridge, my mother sat on my bed. "Your father means well," she said. "He wants to protect you from disappointment." "He doesn't believe in me," I replied, packing my suitcase. "He doesn't understand you," she said. "Maybe one day you'll show him." I zipped my bag with resolve. "I will. I promise." The next morning, as I boarded the plane to Boston, my father's last words rang in my ears: "When this tech fantasy fails, there's always a receptionist job at Anderson Building Supply." Staring out the plane window as my hometown faded, I made a silent vow. I'd never answer phones for his company. I'd build something so successful even Harold Anderson couldn't ignore it. I had no clue how that vow would change my life. MIT was everything I dreamed of and tougher than I imagined. During orientation, I was surrounded by brilliant people from across the globe. For the first time, no one at MIT doubted my place in tech just because I was a woman. The only question was whether I could keep up with the brainpower around me. The workload was intense. I juggled a full load of computer science and business classes while working 20 hours a week at the campus bookstore to keep my promise to my father. My roommate, Natalie Kim, barely saw me awake. I'd get back from work at 9 p.m., study until 2 a.m., sleep for 4 hours, and start again. "You're going to crash," Natalie warned one night, finding me passed out on my keyboard. "I can't slow down," I mumbled, splashing cold water on my face. "My dad's only funding 1 year. After that, I need scholarships, or I'm done." By midterms, I was exhausted but shining in class. I got the top grade in my Introduction to Algorithms course, catching the eye of Professor Alan Blackwell, who'd become my biggest mentor. "Anderson," he said after class, "your encryption idea for the lab, ever thought about its business potential?" I hadn't. I was too focused on surviving to dream bigger. But Professor Blackwell saw something I didn't. "The financial industry would pay big for that security," he said. "Come to my office hours. Let's talk." Those meetings changed my life. Professor Blackwell helped me sharpen my encryption algorithm and connected me with grad students tackling similar challenges. For the first time, I looked beyond grades and survival. By second semester, I'd gathered a small team of brilliant peers. Zach Torres, a genius coder with quantum computing skills, Diana Chen, a master of user experience design, and Marcus Washington, whose business savvy balanced my tech focus. We met Sunday afternoons in my dorm, building what became Secure Connect. Our goal was clear and bold: an encryption system for businesses that was both ironclad and easy to use. "Most security tools trade usability for strength," I told the team. "We'll deliver both." Every Sunday evening, my father called, as agreed. The talks were always the same. "Grades?" he'd ask. "All A's," I'd reply. "The job?" "Still working, picking up holiday shifts." "Good. What's your plan after this year?" I never mentioned our startup. I knew he'd call it a pipe dream, another sign of my fantasy world. By April of freshman year, we had a working prototype. Professor Blackwell pushed us to enter MIT's business competition, with a $50,000 prize for the winner. "We're not ready," I argued. "You're readier than you think," he shot back. "The judges need to see this." The night before the competition, I called my mom, not my dad. "I might win some money tomorrow," I said cautiously, "for a business idea." "That's amazing, honey," she replied. "What's the business?" I explained our encryption software as simply as I could. "Your dad says business is about solving problems," she said. "Sounds like you're tackling a big one." "Would he be proud?" I asked, feeling small. After a pause, she said, "He'd be surprised. But he'll be proud one day." "I already am." The next day, we took first place and $50,000 in seed funding. The university shared a press release with a photo of us holding a giant check. I sent it to my parents. Hours later, my father texted, "Playing entrepreneur with university money? Focus on your grades." That summer, I stayed in Cambridge to work on Secure Connect instead of going home. The prize money let us rent a small off-campus office and pay ourselves tiny stipends. I told my father I wouldn't need his money for sophomore year. "So you're quitting school," he said, sounding pleased. "No, I got an academic scholarship. I'll keep studying and grow our business." A long silence followed. "Businesses need customers, Gabriella. Who's buying your program?" I had no answer yet, no clients, no revenue. "That's what I thought," he said. "Good luck with your scholarship. At least you're not wasting my money now." Sophomore year, I cut my courses to part-time, pouring most of my energy into Secure Connect. We worked 18-hour days, perfecting our product and pitching to clients. Rejection hit us hard, over and over. No one trusts security software from college kids, Marcus said after our 15th failed pitch. Then we'll stop looking like college kids, I decided. We rebranded, polished our materials, and rehearsed our pitch until it was flawless. Finally, a small financial advisory firm said yes, taking a chance on us. When we got our first $10,000 payment, I treated the team to pizza. As we celebrated, I thought about telling my father but held back. I wanted our success to be rock solid before facing his doubts again. That first client led to 5 more, then a dozen. By the end of sophomore year, SecureConnect had enough revenue to hire 2 developers and move to a real office. I wasn't just a student anymore, I was a CEO. Our early wins were a double-edged sword. More clients meant higher expectations, and we were still a young team with little experience. That summer, disaster struck. One of our financial clients had a security breach. It wasn't our fault, they'd ignored our setup instructions. But they blamed our inexperienced team publicly and threatened to sue. We can't afford a lawsuit, Marcus warned at an emergency meeting. We've got 3 months of cash left. I hadn't slept in 48 hours, scrambling to help the client recover data while protecting our reputation. We need a lawyer, I said. And money to pay one, which meant finding investors. We'd been scraping by with our prize money and revenue. A lawsuit would wipe us out. For 2 weeks, I pitched investors nonstop, showcasing our tech, progress, and team to every venture capital firm in Boston. The feedback stung: your tech's promising, but your team's too green. Come back with an experienced CEO. Ever thought about a male co-founder? It'd boost credibility in security. After a brutal rejection, I sat on a park bench and called my mom, a rare moment of weakness. Maybe Dad was right, I admitted. Maybe I'm not built for this. Your father's been wrong about a lot, she said firmly. Don't prove him right by quitting. The next day, I met Catherine Bailey from Artemis Ventures, one of Boston's few female-led VC firms. Exhausted and expecting rejection, I pitched anyway. Catherine listened quietly, asked sharp technical questions that proved she got our product, and leaned in. You're like me 20 years ago, Catherine said. Brilliant, driven, and totally underestimated. I'm investing $500,000 for 10% of SecureConnect and connecting you with my top tech lawyer. I nearly cried with relief. She wasn't done. Promise me one thing. When you succeed, and you will, remember how it feels to be dismissed for being young and female. Help the next woman with a great idea. I promise, I said, meaning every word. Catherine's investment saved us, letting us settle the client's legal threat for far less than they demanded. That crisis taught us to tighten client onboarding and document everything carefully. Catherine was more than an investor. She became my mentor, my advocate. She linked us with clients, refined our business model, and guided my leadership skills. By junior year's end, SecureConnect had 15 employees in a Kendall Square warehouse office. We had steady revenue, but profits were slim after paying salaries, rent, and development costs. Every new hire thrilled me but also scared me. These people bet their livelihoods on my vision. What if I let them down? What if my father was right about me? The stress hit hard: insomnia, migraines, and 15 pounds dropped without trying. My academic advisor called me in, worried about my slipping grades. You can't keep up this pace, she said kindly. Choose your company or your degree. I picked SecureConnect but stayed enrolled part-time. Graduation would take longer, but I wouldn't drop out. That would prove my father right. Our big break came senior year. We upgraded our encryption algorithm, making it stronger and faster. When we shared the news, our clients grew from local firms to national giants. Our revenue tripled in 2 months. We hired fast, moved to a bigger office, and brought on pros with salaries we could barely afford. It was a gamble, but we needed their expertise to grow. One hire was Jennifer Lawrence, a 52-year-old CFO who'd led 2 startups to acquisition. She steadied our young team. "You've got something special," she said in her first week. "But you're growing too fast without financial discipline. Let me help build a lasting business, not just great tech." With Jennifer's help, we revamped pricing, improved cash flow, and planned long-term growth. For the first time, my leadership team wasn't just college friends. When we landed a 7-figure deal with Allied Financial, a Fortune 500 company, I called my father, bursting with pride. "Dad, we just signed a major contract," I said. He paused. "That's a big client," he admitted. "But tech companies vanish fast, Gabriella. Is this sustainable?" We had 40 employees, steady growth, huge clients. "Are you profitable?" he pressed. "Not yet, we were reinvesting everything." "I thought so," he said when I hesitated. "Don't let this distract you from your degree. You'll need a fallback when this tech bubble pops." I hung up, deflated. Would he ever believe in me? Later, reviewing projections with Jennifer, she overheard my call. "Your dad still doesn't get it, does he?" she asked. "He never will," I sighed. "Mine was the same," she said, surprising me. "He thought women belonged in teaching or nursing. Never saw my Goldman Sachs office." "How'd you handle it?" I asked. She smiled. "I stopped chasing his approval and demanded his respect. They're not the same. You may never get one, but you can earn the other." Her words sank in. I'd stopped trying to make my father proud. I'd build something so successful respect was his only option. The next 18 months were a blur of growth and hurdles. Secure Connect jumped from 40 to over 120 employees, outgrowing our office twice. We moved into a shiny Boston high-rise, our logo on the doors. Each morning, entering that building, I felt pride and fear. So many relied on my leadership. So much could still fail. Jennifer was more than a CFO, she was a mentor who'd navigated these waters. "We need a Series A round," she said as cash ran low despite revenue. "You need capital to keep growing." Pitching investors again stirred old rejections. But Secure Connect was stronger now, real clients, proven tech, solid revenue. Catherine led our Series A, pulling in bigger firms. We raised $12 million at a $60 million valuation. TechCrunch ran a story, Secure Connect, the female-founded security startup taking enterprise by storm. My mom texted, "So proud, honey." My father didn't reach out, but my brother James said he'd seen it. "He asked if your company's really worth that or if it's just hype," James said. "What did you tell him?" I asked. "To read it himself," James replied. "For what it's worth, I think you're amazing." Tom does too, but he'd never tell Dad. My brothers and I had drifted apart. They joined Dad's company after college, taking the easy path. Did they resent my rebellion or envy my freedom? With Series A funds, we pushed into new markets. The personal toll was heavy. No vacations in 3 years, living on takeout at my desk. I ended a 6-month relationship because I had no time. "You need to delegate," Jennifer said, finding me asleep at my desk at 2 a.m. "The company can't rely just on you." "I'm fine," I lied, my dark circles betraying me. "You're killing yourself," she said. "That helps no one. Build a team you trust to share the load." Reluctantly, I hired a chief technology officer and a chief operating officer to handle engineering and operations. Letting go was tough but vital for my health and our growth. As Secure Connect grew, competitors noticed. Big security firms copied our products. Some tried poaching our engineers with double salary offers. Others spread rumors about our tech's reliability. "This is good," Catherine said in a meeting. "They wouldn't care if you weren't a threat." One rival crossed the line, trying to hack our systems to steal our code. The irony of a security company being targeted wasn't lost on me, but our defenses held. We traced the attack and sent a cease and desist, stopping them cold. I kept my part-time student status at MIT, determined to finish my degree. In my 5th year, I took only 1 or 2 classes per semester. My father stopped asking about school, assuming I'd dropped out. That spring, my academic advisor called me in. "You've got enough credits to graduate this May," she said, checking my transcript. Really? I'd lost track, focused on tackling one course at a time. Absolutely. You'll graduate with honors, despite your unique path. She smiled. The commencement committee's talking about you. Me? Why? They want you for the student commencement speech. Your story's incredible, Gabriella, building a multi-million-dollar company while earning your degree. I was floored. I don't know if I can write a speech. Consider it, she urged. Your journey could inspire other young entrepreneurs. That night, I called my mom. "I'm graduating in May," I said. "With honors." "Oh, Gabriella." Her voice brimmed with joy. "We'll all be there. Your father too." "He doesn't need to come," I said quickly. "He's your dad." "He'll be there," she replied firmly. My father at my graduation stirred mixed feelings. Part of me wanted him to see my success, to admit I'd proved him wrong. Another part braced for his usual dismissal. As graduation neared, SecureConnect faced a huge choice. Big tech firms offered massive sums to buy us out. Meanwhile, our board discussed going public with an IPO. "The IPO market's hot," Jennifer said in a late-night meeting. "With our growth in clients, we could get a huge valuation." "Are we ready?" I asked. "Is the company ready?" "We need tight financials and a stronger board." "But yes, we're ready." The timing felt unreal. IPO prep would hit just as I graduated, 2 massive milestones colliding. We pushed forward with the IPO, working with banks on our S-1 filing for the SEC. It was grueling, endless meetings with lawyers, auditors, and bankers. The week before graduation, we filed confidentially, keeping it hush-hush. The public would hear later, post-SEC review. Only our exec team and board knew. I passed on the commencement speech, too swamped to prepare. I'd graduate quietly, just another student crossing the stage, though I ran a company worth hundreds of millions. My family flew in the day before the ceremony. I hadn't seen my father in over 2 years. I booked them at the Four Seasons, a subtle flex to show how far I'd come from the freshman he barely supported. The night before, Jennifer called, her voice electric. "The bankers want to raise the IPO price," she said. "Demand's huge. We're looking at $1 billion valuation on day one." $1 billion. It felt unreal. "When will we know for sure?" I asked. "Tomorrow morning," she said. "I'll call when it's final." Tomorrow, graduation day. As I hung up, my mom texted, "Landed. See you at the ceremony. We're all so proud." I wondered if all really included my father. Graduation morning broke with a clear May sky. I woke at 5:30, too nervous to sleep. My small apartment, rarely used due to long office hours, was close to campus. I checked my phone. No word from Jennifer on the IPO price. East Coast bankers were finalizing numbers now. An SEC portal notification showed minor filing comments, nothing to delay us. Showering and dressing, I tried to focus on graduation, not the IPO. Today was for celebrating my degree, earned despite my father's doubts and the demands of running SecureConnect. I picked a simple black dress under my gown, professional, not flashy. My cap and gown hung on my door, tassel swaying. After 5 years of part-time study while building a company, they looked surreal. At 7:15, Jennifer called. "We've got a preliminary price," she said. "Underwriters suggest $42 per share." I calculated quickly, $1 billion market cap on day one. And, she added, "A unicorn IPO. It's rare, Gabriella." My hands shook. "When's it final?" "Pricing committee meets in an hour. We'll know by 9:30. Announcement follows. Graduation started at 10 o'clock. "I'll be in the ceremony," I said. "I know. Keep your phone on vibrate?" "Yes," I promised. After the call, I sat on my bed, processing. $1 billion valuation would change everything, proof of years of hard work, late nights on the office couch, and doubts I'd overcome. It'd also silence my father's playing entrepreneur jabs. I shook off that thought. Secure Connect wasn't about proving him wrong anymore. It was about protecting data and privacy. The valuation was a bonus, not the point. At 8:30, I walked to campus to meet my family at the graduate gathering spot. The familiar MIT paths calmed my nerves, reminding me of my journey. I saw my mom first, radiant in a blue dress and jacket. My brothers, James and Thomas, stood nearby in suits. Then my father, stern as ever, rigid in his tailored suit, hair grayer than I remembered. "Gabriella!" My mom rushed over, hugging me tightly. "We're so proud, honey." My brothers gave quick hugs, congratulating me. Facing my father, I wasn't sure how to greet him after so long. He offered a formal handshake. "Congratulations on your degree, Gabriella." No hug, no "I'm proud." Just a nod to a task done. I shook his hand, disappointment settling in. "Thanks for coming." "Your mother insisted," he said, as if I'd question his presence. We made stiff small talk while other families buzzed with excitement. My mom asked about the ceremony and lunch plans. "I reserved a spot at Harvest," I said, naming a top Cambridge restaurant. My father raised an eyebrow. "Business must be good." "It is," I replied, keeping it short. The IPO news would speak for itself soon. An announcement called graduates to line up by department. I joined the engineering procession. "I have to go," I said. "Family seating's in Section C. See you after." My mom hugged me again. "We'll be watching." As I walked away, I overheard my father tell my brothers, "At least she got the degree. She'll need it when her tech bubble bursts." Some things never change. I joined the engineering graduates, fixing my cap and checking my phone was on vibrate in the pocket I'd sewn into my dress. Around me, classmates snapped selfies, laughed, and celebrated with friends. I stood alone, my thoughts split between the ceremony and the IPO pricing finalizing across town. At 9:45, the procession started, leading us into the grand auditorium for the ceremony. From my spot, I could see Section C, where my family sat. My mom's blue outfit stood out, my father's stiff posture beside her. At 9:52, my phone buzzed. "Jennifer." I stepped out of line to read her text, pricing set at $44 per share. Valuation $1.1 billion. Press release in 15 minutes. "Congrats, Gabriella. $1.1 billion. My knees wobbled. I'd built a company now worth over $1 billion, a unicorn status few startups reach. My father was about to find out. I rejoined the line, moving on autopilot. The ceremony kicked off with pomp and speeches about success and the future. I barely listened, my mind racing with what this meant. At 10:15, my phone vibrated again. The press release was out. Soon, news channels would report Secure Connect's $1 billion IPO. The press would highlight the female-founded unicorn. My father would know any minute. Waiting for my name, my phone buzzed nonstop, congrats from employees, investors, mentors. I ignored them, fighting to stay composed for my moment. Then, at 10:32, a text from my father. I opened it, hands shaking, no help from me moving forward. "You're on your own." The words hit hard. On this day, graduating with honors, taking my company public at $1 billion, he still rejected me. Tears stung, but I held them back. Not now, not for him. Moments later, they called Gabriella Marie Anderson, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and Engineering, with honors. I stood, legs unsteady, and crossed the stage. The dean shook my hand, gave me my diploma. I forced a smile for the camera, my father's text still burning. As I stepped off, my phone buzzed. "Jennifer." I answered quietly, turning from the crowd. "Hello." "Gabriella," she cheered. "The stock's up in private trading. The IPO's a hit. We're at $1.2 billion market cap. CNBC and Bloomberg want interviews." I was near the stage, and her loud voice carried. Nearby heads turned, including some professors. "That's incredible," I said, louder than planned. "$1 billion IPO. I can't believe it." More people looked, whispers spread among graduates. "We need a press conference," Jennifer went on, oblivious to my setting. "As CEO of $1 billion public company, you've got to talk to investors and media." "Got it," I said, voice still carrying. "I'll head to the office after the ceremony." I hung up, meeting dozens of curious eyes. The murmurs grew, $1 billion IPO. CEO, the news rippled through the crowd. I glanced at the family section. My father stared, shock and disbelief on his face, phone in hand. He'd seen the IPO alert. The timing was perfect. Minutes after texting I was on my own, he learned his helpless daughter led $1 billion public company. Our eyes locked across the auditorium. For the first time, I saw something new in his gaze. Not pride. Not love. Respect. The rest of the ceremony blurred. I returned to my seat, classmates now eyeing me, whispering questions I ignored. The president's closing remarks droned on, but few listened. The buzz about the student CEO with $1 billion IPO took over. As we exited, professors stopped me, some mentioning they'd seen the news on their phones. Professor Blackwell, my first champion, gave a knowing smile and thumbs up from afar. Graduates scattered to meet families outside. I saw my mom first, waving eagerly. My brothers stood by her, looking impressed but uneasy. My father was apart, face blank, still gripping his phone. "Gabriella." My mom hugged me tight. "Your company's all over the news. Why didn't you tell us?" "It was confidential until this morning," I said. "SEC rules kept the IPO quiet." My brothers gave awkward congrats, unsure how to handle their sister's sudden fame. James noted the stock climbing in early trading. Thomas asked if I was a billionaire. "The company's worth over $1 billion, I clarified. "My stake's big but not majority. On paper, I'm worth tens of millions." My father stayed silent, his face like stone. Then he stepped forward. "You hid this on purpose," he said, accusing. "SEC rules block pre-IPO leaks," I replied calmly. "And would you have believed me? Your text hit just before my name was called." I showed my phone. "No help from me. You're on your own." "Nice timing, Dad." My mom gasped. "Harold, you didn't." His face reddened. "I meant you're independent. You don't need our support." "That's not what you meant, and we know it," I said, steady despite my hurt. "You've never believed in me or my work. You've waited for me to fail since I left for MIT." Nearby families paused, recognizing me from the news. Phones pointed our way, recording the clash between the new tech CEO and her father. "This isn't the place," my father said stiffly, noticing the crowd. "Agreed," I said. Let's head to the restaurant. I booked a private room. As we crossed campus, my phone buzzed nonstop. Jennifer texted, "Our stock hit $52 per share, soaring past the IPO price." The market was all in. At the restaurant, the staff knew me instantly. "Congrats on the IPO, Miss Anderson," the host said, guiding us to a private room. "Your team sent champagne." A bottle of Dom Perignon chilled in an ice bucket, a note from my execs beside it. Once seated, door shut, my father didn't hold back. "So, this is why you hid your company," he said. Staging a big reveal for maximum drama. "I've built a real business for 5 years," I shot back. "The IPO's just a milestone, not the point." "A tech business," he sneered. "All venture cash and hype." "No, solving security problems for major firms," I corrected. "We have over 200 enterprise clients, 40 in the Fortune 500. Our encryption's the best out there. And you did this while supposedly finishing your degree." "Nothing supposed about it," I said, setting my diploma on the table. "I finished, despite your bets I'd fail." My mom touched his arm. "Harold, our daughter's done something amazing. Can't you be proud?" He brushed her off. "Amazing? Let's see if this company lasts 5 years. Most tech startups tank after the IPO." James spoke up, surprising me. "Dad, Secure Connect's no flash in the pan. They lead their field. I checked them out after Gabriella's TechCrunch feature. Their clients are legit." My father glared at him. "You knew?" "I knew they were doing well," James said. "Not about the IPO." My phone rang, "Jennifer." I stepped to the corner. "Sorry to bug you on graduation day," she said. "CNBC interviews at 3 o'clock. Be at the office by 2 to prep." "I'm there," I promised, hanging up. Back at the table, I said, "Sorry, I have to cut this short. Media duties this afternoon." "More important than family lunch?" my father snapped. "As important as your work always was," I replied coolly. "As CEO of a public company, I owe my shareholders, employees, and clients." "Harold," my mom cut in, "maybe dinner tonight after Gabriella's work?" I shook my head. "I'll be in meetings and interviews all day, probably late. First trading day's critical." "Of course," my father mocked. "Your little program trumps family." Something snapped in me. 5 years of his doubts boiled over. "My little program created over $1 billion in value," I said, voice firm. "It employs 150 people who rely on me. It protects data for millions of users." I stood, grabbing my things. "I built this while you said I'd fail, while you bet against me, while you trained my brothers for your business and offered me a receptionist job." Silence gripped the room. "I didn't build Secure Connect to prove you wrong, Dad. I built it because I believed in it." Your text today, saying I'm on my own as I crossed the stage, made it clear. I met his eyes. "I've been on my own since MIT. Look what I did without your support." My mom's eyes welled up. My brothers looked stunned. My father opened his mouth, then shut it. For once, he had no comeback. "I have to go," I said softly. "Jennifer's got a car waiting." "Gabriella," my mom started. "It's okay, Mom," I said. "Dinner tomorrow. You and the boys can tour the office if you want." I left my father out. His face hardened, pride kicking in. "I've got an early flight," he said stiffly. "Business calls me home." "It always does," I replied. As I turned, he spoke. "Gabriella." I looked back. "Congrats on the IPO," he said, words heavy. "It's impressive. Not I'm proud. Not I was wrong. Just a nod to the undeniable." "Thanks," I said. Maybe your first real compliment to me. Outside, a Blacktown car waited, Jennifer beside it. Her face glowed. Here's the star. She hugged me. We're up 60% from the IPO price. The market's obsessed. Sliding into the car, I glanced back. My father stood outside, watching, his face unreadable. Our eyes met briefly before we drove off. I dreamed of this moment, my father forced to see my success. I thought I'd feel victorious. Instead, I felt free. Free from chasing his approval. Free from living against his expectations. I was Gabriella Anderson, CEO of SecureConnect, a public company worth over $1 billion. That was mine, not his to define. As we drove to headquarters, champagne and cheers waiting, I glanced at my graduation cap beside me. 2 journeys done in one day. One chapter over, another starting. My phone buzzed. Catherine, my first investor, you showed them all. Now show what's next. I smiled, eyes forward, not back. The next 48 hours were a blur: media interviews, investor calls, team celebrations. I barely slept, fueled by adrenaline and the thrill of 5 years' work shining in the markets. By the second day's close, SecureConnect's stock settled at $71 per share, a $1.6 billion market cap. My 20% stake, after funding rounds, was worth over $300 million on paper. Lockup rules blocked selling for 6 months, making the wealth feel unreal. The responsibility hit harder: 150 employees, thousands of shareholders, millions of users counting on us. That second evening, I reached my apartment to shower before dinner with my mom and brothers. My father, true to form, flew home early, unable or unwilling to face my new reality. Changing clothes, I caught my reflection. Exhausted but changed, as if the past 2 days reshaped me. Maybe it was just the weight of responsibility settling on my shoulders. My phone rang. Catherine, my mentor. "How you holding up?" she asked. "Not sure," I admitted. "It's not fully real yet." "It never is at first," she laughed knowingly. "But the responsibility hits fast, right?" "Exactly." "How'd it go with your dad?" Catherine asked. The IPO news hit right at graduation. I sighed. As expected. He congratulated me, but only because he couldn't deny the truth. "Some folks can't handle their narrative being challenged," she said softly. "He thought you'd fail without him. Your success shakes his world." "I know," I said. "I just hoped he'd secretly want me to prove him wrong." "Give him time," she advised. "Some need longer to face reality. For now, you've got a company to run." After the call, I sat on my bed, drained. The clash with my father left a hollow spot in my triumph. For years, I'd worked partly to defy him. Now, with undeniable success, the win felt empty. My doorbell rang. My mom and brothers were here for dinner. At a quiet Italian restaurant, far from the financial district where I might be spotted, my mom asked the big question. "What broke things with your dad?" I twirled my pasta, thinking. "They were never whole, Mom. He never saw me as equal to James and Thomas. My path just proved his point." "He's proud in his way," she said weakly. "No," I replied gently. "He's impressed because he has to be." "That's not pride." James spoke up. "Dad's been a nightmare at work since your IPO hit. He spent all day with his advisor, trying to buy your stock." I nearly choked on my wine. "Seriously?" "Yeah," James grinned. "He thinks it's a smart bet now. Won't admit it to you, though." "Too perfect," I said, shaking my head. "What now with Dad?" Thomas asked, shifting gears. I'd been wrestling with that myself. Could I have any relationship with someone who always bet against me? "I'm done chasing his approval," I said. "That's over." But I won't shut him out just to spite him. My door's open, on my terms. My mom gripped my hand tightly across the restaurant table. You're so wise, Gabriella. So much stronger than I ever was. I squeezed back, my heart softening. You did what you could, Mom. You were always there for me in your way. No, she said, her voice firm with regret. I should have fought harder. I let your father's dismissal of your dreams slide too many times. I should have stood up for you. Her words stung, not because they blamed me, but because they echoed my own buried hurt. We can't rewrite the past, I said gently. But we can decide what comes next. I meant it. The years of struggling under my father's doubts had shaped me, but I was ready to let go of that weight. The future was mine to build. The next morning, I took my family to Secure Connect's headquarters. The office hummed with energy, our team still riding the IPO high. Employees paused to shake my hand and meet my mom, James, and Thomas. This place is incredible, Thomas said, wide-eyed, as we walked through the engineering department. Rows of developers typed furiously, screens glowing with our encryption tech. I had no idea it was this big. I raised an eyebrow, curious. What did you think I was doing all these years? He shrugged, looking sheepish. Dad always said it was some fancy school project, like you were just messing around with computers. His words hit like a jab. And you believed him? Never thought to ask me? Thomas flushed, scratching his neck. I should have checked for myself. I'm sorry, Gabriella. I didn't realize how serious this was. I nodded, letting it go. His apology, small as it was, felt like a crack in the wall my family had built between us. Maybe one day we'd bridge it. That afternoon, after they left for their flight, I sat in my office, poring over our post-IPO strategy. Jennifer burst in, her usual no-nonsense energy cutting through my focus. Your dad called. I blinked, caught off guard. What did he want? He asked if you'd join the board of Anderson Building Supply. She smirked. Said your business expertise would be valuable. I laughed, the sound bubbling up from deep inside. After years of brushing off my skills, my father wanted them for his company. The irony was almost too rich. What did you tell him? I asked, leaning back in my chair. That you were swamped with meetings, but I'd pass it along. Jennifer raised an eyebrow. What do I say when he calls back? Because he will. I paused, weighing my options. Part of me wanted to slam the door shut, to make him feel the rejection he'd dished out for years. But that felt petty, beneath me. Tell him I'm open to discussing partnerships between our companies, I said finally. But Secure Connect's my priority, especially now, post-IPO. Jennifer grinned. High road, as always. I expected nothing less. In the weeks that followed, I settled into a strange new normal. The media frenzy around our IPO cooled, though I'd occasionally catch strangers staring in Boston coffee shops, whispering my name. Our stock price stabilized, employees returned to their routines, and running a public company became my everyday reality. My father didn't call back about the board offer. Instead, he sent a stiff email, copying my brothers and our company lawyers, laying out his proposal. I replied with equal formality, politely declining but suggesting ways our businesses could collaborate. It was a small victory, keeping things professional despite the personal sting. I wasn't chasing his approval anymore, but I wouldn't burn bridges either. The IPO's shine faded faster than I'd imagined. The validation I'd craved for so long, proof I wasn't the failure my father predicted, lost its glow quicker than I expected. What lingered was deeper, the trust of my team, the impact of our tech on clients, the lives we were changing. 3 months after graduation, I made a decision that felt like the truest thing I'd ever done. I founded the Secure Connect Foundation, pouring $50 million of my personal shares into a scholarship fund for young women in cybersecurity and tech. The first recipient was a 19-year-old from rural Georgia, whose father, like mine, told her tech wasn't for girls. I called her myself to share the news. Her voice broke as she sobbed, "This changes everything. My whole future just opened up." Her words hit me hard, echoing the moment years ago when Catherine, my first investor, backed me with a condition: help the next woman with a brilliant idea. Now, I was keeping that promise. The foundation grew beyond what I'd dreamed, a ripple effect of support and opportunity. Each scholarship felt like a step toward rewriting the narrative for girls like me, doubted from the start. My relationship with my father stayed messy. We settled into a kind of uneasy truce, communicating mostly through formal emails about potential business deals. He never apologized for years of doubting me, but he stopped predicting my downfall. For Harold Anderson, that was as close to progress as it got. My mom visited often, her pride in me shining brighter with each trip. During one visit, she opened up more than ever. "I was so scared of rocking the boat," she confessed, her eyes distant. "I thought keeping peace meant accepting his views. But harmony built on unfairness isn't harmony at all." Her words sank deep. I'd spent years resenting her silence, but now I saw her struggle. She'd been trapped in her own way, caught between love for me and loyalty to my father. "I don't blame you, Mom," I said, hugging her. "You loved me the best you could. That's enough." She wiped a tear, smiling. "You've taught me so much, Gabriella. I wish I'd been as brave as you." The biggest change wasn't with my family, it was in me. The fire to prove my father wrong, which had fueled endless late nights and pushed me past every obstacle, slowly shifted. It became about proving myself right. I wasn't just defying his doubts anymore, I was building a life and a legacy that matched my vision. A year after the IPO, MIT invited me back to speak to engineering students about entrepreneurship. Standing at the podium in the same auditorium where I'd graduated, I looked out at bright, hopeful faces and felt a quiet sense of closure. "Success isn't about proving others wrong," I told them, my voice steady. "That might feel good for a minute, but true success is proving your own vision right, trusting what you believe is possible." The room was packed, students leaning forward, some scribbling notes. I shared my journey, starting Secure Connect in a dorm room, facing rejection, and building a billion-dollar company despite my father's skepticism. During the Q&A, a young woman raised her hand. "Did your dad ever admit he was wrong about you?" The auditorium went silent, all eyes on me. I took a breath, choosing honesty. "No, and I don't need him to anymore." The biggest lesson from Secure Connect wasn't about tech or business. It was learning to define success on my terms, not someone else's approval. The crowd erupted in applause, the sound washing over me like a wave. As I stepped off stage, my phone buzzed. A text from my father: "Saw your lecture livestream. Well said." No apology, no admission of fault, but in his own guarded way, it was a gesture. A small step toward seeing me as I was, not as he'd always assumed. I smiled, slipping the phone into my pocket. His words didn't carry the weight they once did. My validation came from elsewhere now. It came from the 150 employees who trusted me to lead them, from the clients who relied on our tech to protect their data, from the young women whose futures were brighter because of the foundation I'd built. As I left MIT that day, I walked the familiar campus paths, remembering the nervous freshman who arrived here 5 years ago, carrying a laptop and a vow to prove herself. I'd done that and more. Back at Secure Connect, the work continued. We were innovating, expanding, and facing new challenges as a public company. The pressure was immense, but so was the purpose. Every day, I walked into our gleaming Boston headquarters, greeted by our logo on the glass doors. It reminded me of how far I'd come, and how much further I wanted to go. The foundation became my proudest achievement. Each scholarship recipient's story fueled me, their dreams mirroring my own at their age. I mentored some personally, sharing late-night calls about code, business, and navigating doubt. One evening, I got a letter from the Georgia scholarship recipient. She just landed an internship at a top tech firm. You showed me I could dream bigger, she wrote. Thank you for believing in me. I framed that letter, hanging it in my office next to my MIT diploma. They were twin symbols of my journey, proof of what I'd built and who I'd become. My brothers reached out more after the IPO, their texts cautious but kind. James sent me a photo of him and Thomas at Anderson Building Supply, captioned, "We're proud of you, sis." It was small, but it mattered. My father remained distant, his emails formal and business-focused. But one day, a package arrived from him, a book on leadership, with a note, "Thought this might interest you." It wasn't an apology, but it was something. I placed the book on my shelf, unopened for now. Maybe one day we'd find a way to talk, not just about business, but about us. For now, I focused on what was ahead. Secure Connect was growing, our tech evolving, our impact deepening. I was no longer the girl desperate for her father's approval. I was Gabriella Anderson, CEO, founder, and dreamer. My story wasn't about proving him wrong anymore. It was about proving what was possible when you believe in yourself. What did you think of my journey? Have you faced tough family dynamics while chasing your dreams? Drop a comment below to share your thoughts. If my story sparked something in you, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear that success is possible, even when the world doubts you. Thanks for joining me on this ride. And always remember, the only validation that truly matters is the one you give yourself.